Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Getting in a College Coach Conversation. We are coming to you here in early March, at least where I am. It's going to be the second week of March by the time you all are hearing this. And just over the weekend, I started to get some news from my students that they were admitted to the University of California, Santa Cruz. Three of them let me know that they had the opportunity this year to become banana slugs, which is fantastic. But it's also a signal to us that the regular decision season is upon us right here in the early part of March. And so joining me to talk a little bit about what you all can expect from decisions, how to prepare for them, is one of my favorite colleagues, Christine Kenyon. Don't tell anybody else I said that. I don't know if anybody listens to the show, but hi, Christine. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ian. Thank you for having me back.
I'm so glad to have you. And we're here talking about what exactly this whole thing amounts to, right? I mean, students have gone through the process of putting in their applications. They've settled on their school lists. They've got teacher letters of recommendation. All this stuff has happened. And now they're kind of waiting. And here come the decisions. The first thing I want to ask you, because I think it seems obvious, but it isn't always. How do students find out whether they've gotten into a school or not?
It's a good question because it has changed since
Yeah.
when perhaps you or I applied to college. Typically, students will be notified of their admission decision via the online portal system that most colleges make students set up
Yeah.
after a student submits an application. And so, usually, a student will receive an email to the email address that they use when they submitted the application that says, "Hey, log back into your portal. Your decision is ready."
Yeah.
Colleges sometimes will also tweet out or post on social media the day and time at which they're going to release their decisions online, and then students can log in and see a PDF version of their admission letter. And for some schools, if they'll follow up with stuff in the mail, other schools won't, and it's all digital and very green. And make sure you remember what your portal password is.
Yeah, and check that spam folder in your email box. I've had a lot of students that are like, I haven't heard from this school yet, and all my friends have heard. You got to dig into your junk mail, and you're going to find it in there, and then you're going to want to log into that portal. Is there any reason for students to log into their portal in advance of when they think the decision might come? Might they get any useful information from that
I
platform?
think it's always helpful to check in on the portal. The reason that portals exist is to make sure that students are um, that all of the students' information has arrived to the university, because the universities will post there, hey, we're missing your mid-year grades. We really need to see those, or we're missing X, Y, or Z. I don't think logging in early will have you beat the system and get your admission decision any earlier. But I do think it is always helpful to check in and just make sure that you know what's happening, what's coming down the pipeline, and double check that the college has everything they need. Some universities also kind of ask students to fill out additional information once they apply within that portal. So it's just always a good practice to check in with that portal every once in a while to make sure you're not missing anything.
Yeah, I remember one of our colleagues, I think Abigail, telling us she was on a meeting with a student and they were checking in the portal to just make sure that everything had arrived. And the student was like, "Oh my God, I got in."
Yeah.
Just like, surprise, you're in there. So yeah, sometimes decisions are already waiting for you, but it's a good idea to get in there, check it out, make sure you've got the password right, maybe make sure all the information has been submitted on time, got green check marks next to everything. And then it's time to, I would say, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally. um, is there any advice that you have for students as they are entering this phase of the process? They haven't yet heard back from schools, but it's right around the corner. How can they think about getting themselves in the right kind of headspace? And I mean, is that different advice for every student depending on the student?
Yeah, it can be different advice. And I think the reason that is because everybody processes information in a different way. There's
Yeah.
some students who want a lot of emotional support, which transfers to having a lot of family members around them as they open the college admission letter. This is a really exciting time for them, and they want people to celebrate with them if they get in, and they want people to console them if they didn't get in, and this is a place that they particularly hoped to do so.
Yeah.
Other students process information better alone. They kind of want to be in their own space. They're, at home or in their car, just someplace where nobody else can see them so that they can just like read the information and then decide how they feel and how they want to react. So know that regardless of what you might be seeing on social media, because some people, this is like my worst nightmare, where some people like tape their reactions to their
Yeah.
admission
Yeah.
decisions, and that just
I was just thinking
not for
that.
me.
No.
um Regardless of what your parents are saying or your guardian or your friends who are like, let's all open it at the same time. A lot of admission decisions post during school hours. I would not recommend opening it up on your phone in the middle of class or in the hallway. It's just, you've worked so hard the 4 years of high school. You've put so much time and energy and effort into this application. Give yourself the grace to be in a space that allows you to process whatever the outcome may be in whatever way you end up expressing that. So
Yeah.
I just say be thoughtful about where you want to be, with who, if anybody, when you open up that admission decision.
Yeah. It's worth waiting, I think, to get into that right headspace. I think that, even if you get into a school that you're really excited by in the middle of the school day, that could also cause disruption for your friends if they applied to the same schools and they didn't get in. Now you're dealing with that sort of conflict of emotion in that space. And you're not giving them the opportunity to process their own decisions in the ways that might work for them. So I think universally there should just be a ban on checking admission decisions while you're at school, unless you have a guidance counselor going in and you're really close with them and you want to talk about it. I also think there should be a ban on parents opening admission decisions without the students present. And you didn't allude to that at all, but as soon as you said family, I was like, there are some overzealous fathers and mothers out there that might say, oh, I want to know if he got in. He's coming home from school later, but I've got his application portal password and I'm going to check because I know the decision's coming out today. We need to wait on that kind of thing,
Yes.
right?
For a few reasons, I think. Number one, well, not number one, but the admission decision letter might disappear after. And I've seen that happen for some students. Like they see the decision letter, they click through, or like it's there and then it disappears. So if a parent does that or a guardian does that and the student logs in and they can't see the actual letter, ooh, that's going to be a tough conversation.
That's
And
rough.
the other reason is a part of life is dealing with the ups and downs that come with rejection, right? And so I think part of what will prepare students for the ups and downs of college, as great as it is, as challenging as it is at times, is being able to kind of take this first step of like on their own accepting whatever happens and processing it in their way.
Yeah, it's not I mean, for me, I hated it. Like it was a really bad experience for me overall because I just got denied at a lot of places. That's because I didn't have any real good advice. But it really, yeah, kind of stung for sure in a way that other experiences to that point had not. I think, there are also opportunities for people to celebrate. In the end, it is a transition, right? It's an opportunity towards that next step. It is not the culmination of things. It's the next opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about what these decisions are. So we're really alluding to the fact that it's pretty binary, like you're either accepted or you're not. There's also kind of, well, depending on your perspective, glass half full, glass half empty, there's another decision that could come through, and that's the wait list. What do we do? We've been waiting 4 months to hear back from a school. We put all our energy into this and they're asking you to wait a little bit longer. Any initial recommendations for students when they get that waitlist decision from a college?
Remember that you are in the driver's seat. So a wait list is the college's opportunity to say, we really like you. We think you can do well here. We don't have space for you right now, but if our numbers don't end up shaking out how we think they might, we may offer you a spot here, right? And that is very hard for many students to deal with, being taking them even longer to wait and be in the mental headspace of one school while waiting to hear from another. So
Yeah.
remember that you are in the driver's seat as the student. You can choose not to be on the waiting list. And I know many students who say, you know what, I'm heartbroken and I would love to go to this school, but I have to move on. Like I want to get excited about this school that gave me a scholarship. I want to get excited about meeting my potential roommate and joining clubs and organizations. And I know myself and I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm waiting until July to hear back about a spot at this other school. For
Yeah.
other students, they say, I'm equally happy wherever I go. Like I'm going to stay on the waiting list. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, cool. Like but let's just see what happens. And that really comes down to you as the student and how is going to emotionally affect you, I think, as you think about the next few months of your life.
Yeah, keeping your options open is great for some people. I had a student a couple of years ago who was deferred in early decision only to be put on the wait list in regular decision. And his reaction to that was like, I'm not interested in this school anymore. Like, I'm just not going to keep waiting. And he actually got an offer in the first couple of weeks of May off the wait list. And he was just like, nope, nah, I've already committed to this other school. I don't like the fact that they made me wait that long. So I've got a place that I know I'm going to love. So I love that he took control of that, right? And was able to kind of say, yeah, you wanted me in the end, but I didn't want you. So I chose this other school. I want to talk a little bit about some of the strategy, because we're going to unpack this waitlist conversation, I am sure, in future segments where we get into a little bit more of the detail. What do the numbers look like? How do the percentages shake out? So, come back and check in on us towards mid to late April. I think we'll probably touch a little bit more on the waitlist. I want to talk a little bit about just getting organized and getting situated as a family, as especially the yes decisions come in, because I think there can be an instinct to say, and you usually hear back from schools that are less selective earlier in the process. And I remember me being like, when I got into Reed, which is where I ultimately ended up going, I was like, all right, first of many, like basically toss it over my shoulder and like waited for the next schools to notify me. Turned out that letter from Reed was really important because it's one of the few schools that accepted me. So I had to go back and get it, and like get more excited by it. But are there steps students can take, especially digitally, to make sure that they are accounting for what these offers are? What is the financial aid award? Like any suggestions you would make in terms of staying organized on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like we talk about being organized in the research phase of identifying the college list and deciding where a student wants to apply, the same goes here when it comes to the decision of where to enroll. So I love spreadsheets. I like
You do.
consistency of data.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a bit type A. And so I like being able to kind of look at a list of schools and kind of compare and contrast the same information. And so think about those drivers and deal breakers that have become more important to you, to your family, and compare and contrast, location, compare and contrast financial aid offers or scholarship offers, and if there's any wiggle room for negotiation there. Compare and contrast distance from home and,
Yeah.
how you feel today, given the state of the world, than how you felt when you applied. Because, I mean, think of all those students who applied to college in the fall of 2019, and then by April, when they're deciding where to go to college, we're in quarantine for a
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
So things change, right? So assess how you're feeling about what your drivers and deal breakers are, and kind of like go down the list, I'd say.
And you've got until May 1st to make your decision, right? And so there might be some extra incentives to register early or to get your enrollment deposit in for early housing. Sometimes that is something that you want to take advantage of, but I think every family should not feel rushed. When you've got an offer from a school, you've got the offer from the school. There might be things that sweeten the deal a little bit based on, registering or enrolling earlier, but take your time and try and assess the best option for you. I also think, Christine, that it could be a good idea when you get that admission offer. Usually it's not lots of schools just like letting you know at the exact same time in the same hour. So you've got a little bit of space to let that decision breathe. Go and research the school. Take 30 minutes to reconsider, why did I apply here? What was it that I liked about it before? What are the things that I might like about it now as a prospective student, now that I have this offer in hand? I think there's a lot of tendency to say, well, I got this school, all right, I'm going to move on to the next thing. But you really want to sit down and say, what did I like about this? What would my life as a student be like here? And then you can weigh that against all of the other different kind of options on the table. I want to ask you, I have a feeling about this, but let's say you get into 5 schools. Does it matter whether they were considered safety schools for you when you applied or reach schools for you when you applied? When you're making your final decision, would you say, well, I should go here because it's a reach, or I shouldn't go there because it was a safety? Like, how does that kind of planning aspect of your shaping your college list actually affect where you choose to enroll at the end of the day?
I don't think it necessarily should. I think the structure of the list is to guarantee that you have the luxury of choice, right? If you
Yeah.
choose to apply regular decision or early action and not the non-binding early decision pathway. And so congrats, you have the luxury of choice. From this point forward, you should be looking at all of the things that are unique about the academic and social experience at that university to identify where feels most like home to you. Where are your people? Where are you more excited about? This is the switch is flipped. At this point, colleges want you. They're trying to entice you. They have admitted student days. They're going to send you a branded cookie. You might get an umbrella out of it. So they're putting out all the bells and whistles. Take advantage of that. Speak to as many students as possible because now you're in. Like you made it over the hurdle. They want you there. Where
Right.
feels right to you?
Yeah.
Because there is a fit for everyone. Some students like being in a really competitive institution where there's a lot of intense academic competition because that drives them. For other students, they really like being the big fish in the small pond. They like feeling as though they have a little bit of something extra at their university. And there's nothing wrong with that because the
Yeah.
most important thing about college is that you are going to be successful there academically and as a community member because that's what will impact how courageous you are to go out for that internship and to build your resume of experiences and to take risk and pursue different career paths. I mean, that's the goal of college, right?
That's
So
right. That's right.
I say at this point, I wouldn't even worry about, where the school falls on your list. Ideally, you only applied to schools that you would have been happy to enroll at. Now the question becomes which feels right for who I am today.
That's right. I think that's great advice. Folks, keep that in mind as these decisions come pouring in over the next month or so. And we'll have many more segments to talk about how you can make those best decisions for you and your family. Christine, thanks for coming on the show. And I know you got a call that you got to get to, so I want to let you get on out of here. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about women's colleges. Don't go away.